Hello, hello. Hope everyone is doing well. Today is Wednesday, February 16th, and I was curious today to see what the price increases would look like for all of our beloved Louis Vuitton items. Now, I am not one of those people that have, keep track of this or did spreadsheets, so if you're looking for that, this will not be the video for you. And actually, I have never talked about price increases before or even considered it because to me, I don't know, it just never has really gotten on my radar. But I've seen a lot of, chatter and a lot of videos, and I thought I would just throw my 2 cents in. Sorry, my husband came in and interrupted. So, yeah, I didn't have a really strong reaction to hearing about the price increase. I was just surprised that it was happening again so soon after the one in October. But I mean, the truth is, it just is what it is. When I think about it, Louis Vuitton raising their prices just seems to be aligned with everything else going on in the world right now. Everything is so expensive. In 2020, my husband and I were actually thinking about selling the house that we're in now and getting another house because we needed, a dedicated office space since we transitioned to working from home and realized it was going to be long term. We really didn't need a bigger house per se, but we just needed a different layout. So we were, doing what everybody does when they're going to buy a house. You get your credit together. If it's good, you try to make it better. You don't, apply for any open lines of credit. You save for the down payment, which, when we first bought our house in 2015, the down payment, you guys, was like $3,000. Now for a down payment, it's like $20,000 to $30,000. So again, we were just preparing for all of those things. And then, we had a budget in mind for the house we wanted based on what we thought the kind of house we wanted would cost. And then when we actually went to go make some moves, the house was about $200,000 more than where we had guesstimated because the cost of a home has gone up. So I say all that to say it just makes sense. I honestly, I feel like you just have to take it in stride with everything else that's going on. I mean, when I was 16 and just got a driver's license, gas was 98 cents and I could fill up my tank with $15. And now gas is over, it's like $3.50 and it takes me like $60 to $75 to fill up. So, I mean, if you think of it in that way, it just kind of is what it is. It's weird because I was watching an old episode of Sex and the City. I was one of those people that tried to watch And Just Like That, and of course was horrified because that show is trash. But what it did was it made me want to go back and watch the original series, which I loved. And I was watching the episode where Samantha was trying to get a Birkin, and she did it in Lucy Liu's name. But the Birkin was $4,000. And I was like, what? Like, what kind of Birkin is $4,000? But at that time, which was 1990, whatever, I guess that's what a Birkin cost. I mean, I really would have no idea. I'm not into Birkins. But I know that a Birkin now is nowhere near $4,000. Probably more like $14,000 to $40,000. So yeah, it's just par for the course. And for me, I guess the nice thing is, although I am a lover of the brand, I don't love everything about the brand. I know that there are quality issues. I don't think I've had any. Maybe once I had to return something, and right now I can't even think what it was, but I have not run into too many quality issues. you know, it's a beautiful brand. They make beautiful pieces. They've got that rich history. If you like the look, then, there's that, and I do. Um, but you have to decide what's worth it to you. I mean, for me and my husband, we decided it wasn't worth it to spend that kind of money on a new house. So we are instead going to remodel our current home. So I think that's maybe what, rising prices and rising costs makes people think about is what is worth it? What is worth it to me to spend a little more money on? Obviously, we have to put gas in our car, so I don't have to sit here and think, is it worth it for me to pay more for gas? I have to pay more for gas. If that's the price, that's the price. But with luxury items, I don't have to own a Louis Vuitton, and nobody does. So since these are already, unnecessary items, they're in a different kind of category. So then you just end up deciding, well, that Pochette Matisse, maybe at one point it was $400 and now it's, $2,000. Is it worth it to me? Do I still love it enough, or do I want it enough? And do I want to go ahead and spend that kind of money on that item? It's a very personal decision. Life is short. We only live once. All of us are into something. I know someone who's really into Star Wars, and he spends money on things that are Star Wars related that would not be worth it to me. It's not something I'd spend my money on. But he may look at me and say, who spends the kind of money you spend on a bag? People are into cars. People are into, I don't know, Game of Thrones. People are into gaming, period. And, whatever brings you joy, whatever makes you happy. And that's where you then put your resources. And if it's worth it to you, if a bag brings you joy and it costs $500 more than it did yesterday, I mean, I guess it just is what it is. On the flip side, if you are looking at the bag and saying, it was worth $800, but it's not worth $15, then there it is. Then you're like, well, I'm not buying that. I've mentioned before that last year, in I think April, my husband and I went to Cincinnati, and we went to the Louis Vuitton store, really just out of curiosity, because I'd never been to any other store other than the one in Columbus, which is where we live. And so I wanted to go. The one that is in Cincinnati is inside of a mall, whereas mine is outside. So when you stand in line, you're out in the elements when you go to the one where I live. But in Cincinnati, since it's in the mall, I was like, okay, let's see what what it's looking like, what they're offering. And it was nice. It was bigger. You're standing in line. The line took much, much longer, but we were inside, so it was all good. And anyway, I went in. I really wanted to look at a Pochette Matisse. For some reason, I knew they had it, but for some reason, the client advisor brought me the Dauphine. And I was like, no, this is not what I'm looking at. And I can't remember. It was a really weird situation. But anyway, I ended up trying on the Dauphine. And I think what was going on was the Pochette Matisse, they might have only had one, and another client was trying it on or was about to buy it because I saw her with it. And so rather than take that and bring it over to me, or rather than tell me they didn't have any, they just brought me something else. So when I initially looked at the Dauphine sitting on the counter, I was like, no, I don't want that. But I went ahead and tried it on, and oh my gosh, I loved it. And I think it was $3,200. And man, I was right there on the edge. I was looking at my husband like, oh, I love this bag. Let's get it. And he's like, let's just wait. Let's walk down to Coach and let's just wait. So we did. We left, went down to Coach. I ended up getting the Beat bag, and just, kind of had the Dauphine in the back of my mind. Maybe I'll get it later, yada, yada. And then in October, it went up to like $4,000, something like that. And I was like, no. I mean, I wasn't mad. I wasn't angry. I wasn't upset. I wasn't like, oh my gosh, that bag, 2 weeks ago was $3,200 and now it's almost $4,000. I just was like, well, they're running a business. They're trying to make money. I don't know if they're trying to recoup losses or if they're just trying to increase their profit margins. Whatever they're doing is what businesses do. And I, as a consumer, now decide, is that bag, that same bag that I loved and would have paid $3,200 for, is it worth it at $4,000? And it was a really, really easy no. And so what price increases do for me as a consumer is they help me to know my limits. They kind of help me to know my stopping point. I'm not going to spend a $4,000 on a bag, period. And so I'm not mad. I'm just like, well, I guess I'll never own a Dauphine. And the nice thing is for me is that I'm content with what I already own. I'm glad that I did make the decision to buy a few things that I loved and that caught my eye in 2021. Otherwise, I might never own any Louis Vuitton items the way they keep going with these prices. It also will cause me to explore other brands. My three kind of favorite core brands are Louis Vuitton, Coach, and Tory Burch. But there are other brands out there that I've never really looked at. I've been thinking about Gucci, but I've also been thinking about not buying bags for a while and just letting myself reset, settling down from all this quote unquote retail therapy, enjoying what I have, being content with what I have. And, you know, companies are going to be companies, firms are going to be firms, brands are going to be brands. They're out here to make money. I don't think there's much loyalty to their customers, unfortunately. At least that's what I'm seeing. I hope that with this price increase, they are passing some of that money on to their employees. All of us need to make a little more money these days, just to, you know, we need to see salaries and wages increase with this inflation. And so I hope that that's some of what they're doing. I don't think any of us are dumb. We understand that materials are going up. The cost of transportation is going up. I mean, the situation we're in has impacted everything. So I get it. But, you know, of course, then you have to make personal decisions for yourself about where your spending limits are. And like I said, maybe look at some other brands. I've never left Coach. I still love Coach. I still love the things that they put out. They are still in a price point, although their prices have gone up. They're still at a reasonable price point for my budget and for my appetite for purchasing. Brands that I admire but don't think about ever are things like Chanel. I mean, I don't know, maybe it's my age, but I look at a Chanel bag and I think, wow, that's a car. That's the price of a car. So it's not for me. And that's just how I think about it. Some people may look at a bag I'm carrying and say, well, that's $3,000. That could be X, you know, that could be a used car. That could be, you know, a down payment on something. I don't know. So everyone's different. And I think for people who are super loyal to the brand, they're not going to move away just because prices go up. I think that they will continue to have an appetite to spend because they love the products. I have always had a kind of love-hate relationship with Louis Vuitton. They're really inconsistent in their customer experience. They're really inconsistent with their tactics. They don't seem to have any returned loyalty to their own loyal customers. I don't feel special with Louis Vuitton. And when I say that, like, what can I compare that to? You know, Nordstrom, a place I shop a lot, I feel good. You know, I feel it's a good customer experience when I'm in Nordstrom. I do feel special. I buy La Mer from Nordstrom a lot, and the sales associate, I've gotten to know her, and she treats me, she does make me feel special, and I appreciate that. I feel good when I go in there and I go get my La Mer products. I don't feel that way at, at Louis Vuitton. I never know what I'm gonna get when I go to the boutique. I never know what kind of attitude I'm gonna get. I get different information when I go. I get different experiences. Sometimes people bring lots of bags, sometimes they bring one, sometimes they've got an impatient attitude, sometimes they act like, I'm queen of the world. It's so inconsistent, and they, ugh, I don't know. So again, sometimes I have a decent experience when I go, sometimes I don't. Um, and yeah, I don't love that. I had a terrible experience once trying to order something, and it was so bad that I was like, I will never, ever order anything from Louis Vuitton again. If I cannot get it in the boutique, then it is not for me. They, what happened? I ordered something and they shipped it, and I was so excited to get it. And then they something happened, and it now I can't even remember, but all I know is the bottom line is when they shipped it, they ended up shipping it with a return label on it. So they basically shipped it to themselves. And when I tried to get them to fix it, they gave me the runaround. They were rude about it. You would think they would be like, oh my gosh, we made a mistake. Um, Sorry, we shipped this to one of our, what do you call it? Warehouses, or not warehouse, workshop. They were like, we shipped it to one of our workshops. Maybe they could have been like, we're going to get a different one shipped to you, and we're going to expedite it and get it to you tomorrow. Or I don't know, they could have just done better. Eventually I was like, forget it, because they just could. First, it took them quite a bit of time to figure out even what happened. They even just were confused, and then they just didn't handle it well. So I was like, just forget it, just return it. And then they were like, well, it's going to be up to 15 days before you're refunded. And I'm like, okay, that's not acceptable when it was a mistake on your end. It's not like I got the item and then returned it. That I could understand. So, I got pretty upset. I ended up contacting my bank, and they fixed it. But yeah, so it's been a mixed bag with Louis Vuitton. But, the truth is, I do love many of their pieces. I have many of the ones I love. I had a few that I still was interested in, but I'm pressing pause on making a bunch of major purchases and bags this year. I just need, again, to reset. So, yeah, those are, I guess, my thoughts that no one asked for on the Louis Vuitton price increase. Taking it in stride. It's like everything else that's on the rise right now. And it just kind of is one of those things that is what it is. And, if they're true to form, we will probably, I wouldn't be surprised if there's another price increase this year, in the summer, in the fall. And, I don't know. It just kind of has, I guess, bottom line, it has kind of turned me off, but I get that they're a business and this is what they do. So it just, I guess, lands on your personal decision on whether or not it's worth it still to you. And that's going to be different for everyone. What I hope no one does is, what I hate to see is when people shame other people for how they spend their money. I had a friend who okay, sorry, I had to get off the floor. I'm getting older and my knee was starting to bother me. But anyway, I had a friend who I brought to church with me, and the pastor was saying that he hired someone to put up their tree that year. This was around Christmas, and I can't remember. I think he said he paid like $300 or $400 for a professional tree hanger. I don't know what they're called, what their official name is, but a professional to do their tree. And I remember my friend saying, what? Like, who does that? Who spends money for someone to put their tree up? Like, I put my own tree up, and it was just kind of like, who are you to say what people do with their money? It's his money. If he wants to pay someone to put a tree up, that's his business, and there's nothing wrong with it. There may be things that you spend money on that he is like, I would never spend money on that. It's our money. we make it, we earn it, and we spend it, pay our bills, take care of our priorities, and then we have a little fun with the rest. And that's what that is different for everyone. So, just I just hate to see people shame people for what they buy and what brings them joy and what makes them happy, because that's going to be different for all of us as individuals. So, yeah, I've gone on for long enough. Clearly, Louis Vuitton makes me happy. So do a lot of other things. I love, 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 love to travel. I grew up overseas, so going back to Europe feels like home for me, being raised as an army brat. So that's where I spend my money. Whereas there are some people that are like, I'll never leave, the U.S. I would never go overseas. Okay, well, that's you. Um, but I love to go and I love to travel. And, in place of traveling, I've spent a little money on something else I love that maybe I didn't have a chance to spend money on before because I was using it elsewhere. And I'm not someone who has unlimited money, so I do have to prioritize what I'm doing in any given moment. So, yeah, this past year I bought a few bags and now I'm going to chill out because it seems like we might be able to get back into the world. And there are other things I want to do with my money. So, to each their own, as they say. And, whatever you enjoy, whether that's Dooney and Burke, whether that's Coach, whether that's Louis Vuitton, whether it's Michael Kors, whether it's Dior, Chanel, um, you know, enjoy it. Live your life. It's yours. No one has any say in that. Be happy. And, Louis Vuitton is going to do Louis Vuitton, man. They're going to make their money either way. So that is that, y'all. I will talk to y'all later. Bye.